All right, good morning, YouTube. Little question here that's come up a lot, and let me first start saying I just got back into town from Upper Peninsula, Michigan. So I could have, instead of being in the cramped confines of my car, I could be doing this with a waterfall or a lake or something like that in the background, something really scenic, some scenic overlook, but I'm not. Instead, I waited until I got back, so I'm sitting in my car in a parking lot here in St. Louis. I do have Yetta here. She says hello. Of course, she can't say it on her own. But anyway, this morning, as I was eating breakfast, I was kind of scrolling through social media, as I frequently do in the morning when I eat. And I saw a video that came up that reminded me of something that I've often talked about at seminars and stuff, but it's something that needs to be addressed. And this is not a commentary on that video, because I would have done my due diligence and actually paid attention to what agency it was, and I would have known way more about it if I planned on doing a commentary on the video. But the video just spurred this. So in this video, let me just, in a nutshell, an escaped inmate goes over a fence in like a little, I don't know if it's part of the correctional facility, but like a little courtyard, outdoor courtyard area. And you could tell there's, from the surveillance camera, there's a couple of these little courtyards. Inmate goes over the fence and he hides in a trash can. The placement of this trash can is right inside the gate where you go into the courtyard. So a dog handler comes along with a backup officer, opens the gate. The dog goes in and shoots right past the trash can and goes to a deeper portion of that courtyard area. Then as the handler's bringing the dog back out of that area, he chokes up on the leash more to control the dog, probably to keep the dog from snatching somebody who might be outside of the gate. So, you know, making a smart exit from the area with controlling the dog. However, the trash can where the subject was hiding was never really sniffed by the dog, never searched. And this reminds me of something that happens a lot with detection dogs. And I know I've seen, I can't remember who it was, maybe it was Cameron Ford. I've seen somebody recently that did a video talking about this, and I've talked about it tons in the past. So when we start a search, let's transition from finding a human being to odor detection now. When you're doing a search and you enter a building, you enter through a doorway, it's kind of natural for the dogs left to their own devices to want to shoot into the room, for lack of a better term, and zip right past the doorway and not necessarily cover that doorway they just entered into. People who have attended my seminars in the past, they know that if I set up something inside a house, they probably need to be checking inside the doorway, because they figure I'm trying to trick them. And I do set stuff up like that a lot, but really it's not a trick. It's something that's very serious. So a number of years ago, when I first started getting into the whole, I'd been involved in detection work for a number of years, but I started getting involved in explosive detection and learning more about it and becoming a trainer in that realm. I was watching a major metropolitan police department. I'm not going to say what the department is or where the department's at, but we were training in this old kind of extravagant hotel, motel type thing, where a lot of, this was a place where a lot of celebrities, famous people, politicians have stayed over the years back when it was open. It was closed when we were using it. But these motel rooms, this was not like the Super 8. They actually had entry foyers. They had multiple entryways into the hotel room. They had dining rooms. They had living rooms. They had bedrooms, bathrooms, obviously, multiple rooms. So I started noticing, and these are the, I don't want to say the word too much on YouTube here, but EDD dogs looking for destructive devices. I don't want to say that E word too much. The same as we don't want to say the G word too much, because YouTube doesn't like that. But dogs are going in and they're shooting right past the doorways and going like to the second room or third room before they're really sniffing and really searching. And the handlers, you know, they would bring them back eventually, bring them back toward the doorway. But that really puzzled me because, and I couldn't really ask questions too much at that particular time because I'm a newbie at it, and I'm trying to be trying to have some tact, which I haven't had in my lifetime very well. Anyway, going back to my career in law enforcement, let's just take dogs completely out of the picture. We're going into a house, and I think most of you, whether you've been in law enforcement or not, you can relate to this or understand where I'm coming from. Going into a house looking for somebody, either an alarm call or an arrest warrant, or somebody who might be hiding from you and wanting to hurt you potentially. You go into that house, and right from the very beginning, when you make entry into that house, when you go through the doorway, you're doing everything very purposefully, dynamic. You're searching right from the get-go. Right when you go in, you're searching for this person. Okay, we're not walking 2-3 rooms deep and then all of a sudden saying, hey, let's get tactical now and start searching for this person who might want to kill us. So the thing is, when you're looking for an explosive device, or I said it again, but one of those destructive devices that somebody might be wanting to harm you with, why wouldn't you start right at the very beginning? You understand what I'm saying? Why wouldn't you start right inside that front door or whatever door you're entering in? So, and the same thing could be said about a number of areas of odor detection. So I train a lot of my clientele are human remains detection, cadaver dog handlers, because that's kind of where I got my start initially in K9. And a lot of them will say, well, I'm making a mental note. I get it. They're making a mental note that they didn't cover that, so they're going to come back and cover it better later. And good on them. They're making a mental note. They're going to come back and cover it. That's great, right? The thing is, it would be better if you started initially so you don't forget something. But let me throw something else out there here. Okay, you're making that mental note, but you've gone into the house, you blew past the doorway, the entryway, you potentially missed a bunch of congealed blood under the carpet by the doorway, or blood on the tissue on the door handle, whatnot. You've missed all that. Now you're going through this house, you're potentially opening doors, potentially moving things and stuff, to do your search throughout the house. Eventually you come back to the door and you do find what you're looking for, and that's a great thing. If you're going in looking for human remains, chances are that's something bad happened. That's not a happy environment to be going into, right? So you want it's a potential crime scene. So now, yes, good, you found what you're looking for, right? Right there as you're exiting, but you've already contaminated that whole house by going through it. And chances are, law enforcement, once you find something like that, they're not going to have you continue to use the dog. They're going to want to bring crime scene in, and they're going to tear that house apart inch by inch and look and truly examine and document that whole scene. Well, now you've already contaminated so much stuff going through their searching that might have been avoided. So that's just one example. There's right way and wrong ways to do things. So a better suggestion would be, if you're going to come into the house, you're going to go in like that. A lot of us do like to take a second and pause and let our dogs acclimate to the environment. So fine, do that. Go in, let your dog acclimate. But then if you have to, turn back toward that door that you already came through and sweep past that and let the dog sniff that area. Because there could be something around this doorway, right? If you're looking for one of those, the E word, the destructive devices, it's a choke point. And I'm not going to go any deeper into that because this is a public video and I don't want to give people ideas, but it's a doorway is a choke point, okay? Same thing with a crime scene. It's a choke point. People are going to likely enter and exit by a doorway. possibly the doorway you came in. So if they've got something where they're contaminating, blood on their shoes, if they've got blood on their hands or whatnot, there's a good chance there's going to be evidence around that entryway, or at least that's going to be a focal point where they went through. So if you want to go in, let your dog acclimate, but then turn and sweep back past that door, and then start your search right there in that room and go through methodically. And I'm not going to get in there's a million different ways of searching, the on leash, off leash, that's for another video, but there's different ways to do that. But one other thing that I want to bring this up before I close out this video, we're almost done here. There's something else you need to remember, that you and your dog are a team. It's not just, you're not just the dummy at the end of the leash. Yeah, we joke about that, we're just the dummy at the end of the leash, but no, you and your dog are a team. You're responsible for directing the dog to search, for making sure you've covered the areas. You're responsible for reading your dog. But let's not forget about opportunistic areas, scent productive areas, sometimes we call it in the industry. So going back to that video I mentioned, you got to be thinking about where something or somebody, in that case, we're going back to the inmate video, where that inmate might be at. You came into an area and you just crossed or passed by a trash can, which is obviously large enough for a full-grown human adult person to be inside of, because he was inside of it. Why not direct your dog, be cognizant of that stuff and direct your dog to that area? Or, looking at other types of detection, why not be looking around the house, making sure your dog's hitting some areas where it makes sense, where something or somebody, or whatever the target odor is, where that target odor could be at, depending on the type of search that you're doing. And that's something that we also need to remember, that we are the handler, we're the director, we're the guide of the dog. Yes, we want our dogs to work independently, but we need to make sure that we place our dogs in in areas where they can pick up odor, if that odor is there. So anyway, just a few thoughts here in a short little video this morning. And if you like the video, please like and subscribe. If you don't like it, go ahead and really don't like it and hit that thumbs down 2 times. I stole that from somebody, by the way. Anyway, have a good day, and I'm sure Yetta would say goodbye if she could.